Welcome in. This is Chiefs Chase. My name is Mike Bassano, and thank you so much for joining me this week on the MidWeek Blitz.
Energy, energy, energy. It's got to be a mentality. So when you come out here, you're ready to dominate. Let's go. Chiefs on three. 1, 2, 3. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Go, Blue Adams. Set.
Here comes a blitz. Quick pass is caught. This side. Touchdown.
Hey, E-Dog. E-Dog. E-Dog.
The Midweek Blitz is where we cover everything Kansas City Chiefs from what's going on through all the storylines of the week, and we have a ton of them, along with getting you ready for the Chiefs-Broncos game this Sunday in Arrowhead. But first, I have one promise to make. I don't make political statements. I don't do it. It's not my thing. Why? Because I don't have to. I don't do political statements. I do Chiefs talk. That's why the show is called Chiefs Chase and not Mike Bassano Talks Politics. However, there is one meme from NFL Memes that I think we can all agree on that was posted yesterday. Watching those political ads on Monday Night Football against the Buccaneers, it was like having my teeth pulled out of, like, one by one with razor wire, just wrapped, because that was the most painful experience. I feel like if politicians want us to hate them less as a whole, it would be really great if they didn't have cheesy political rhetoric-filled commercials throughout our football games. That's just me. That's who I am. Maybe you feel differently. Maybe you love watching political ads. Maybe you're the only person, right? I'm sure there's got to be someone, right? There's got to be someone out there that goes, man, I just can't get enough of these political ads. But thankfully for me and people like me, maybe you, no more political ads on football games. We're free. Yes, we're back to the world of pharmaceutical sales. Pharmaceutical commercials and fast food. That's what I'm talking about, baby. They sell you the food so they can sell you the drugs. Boom! I'm back. I'm all the way back, man. Bring me back to regular programming. Get me out of the hellhole that is political ads. Thank God it's over. On to the Chiefs. We got a lot to get to, including Patrick Mahomes saying something that has the entire NFL buzzing. Everybody's talking about it. We'll get to that here in just a minute, but first, we have got to start with him. He's the man of the hour. He's the guy everybody should be talking about, the new wide receiver one, DeAndre Hopkins. The Chiefs are now a legitimate juggernaut of a football team. And I understand. People are going, well, they aren't winning by a large margin. That doesn't matter. Okay? They're getting everybody's best shot. What the Chiefs are accomplishing is one of the most incredible feats you could possibly imagine in sports. Forget about the NFL, which is unprecedented what they're pulling off. I'm telling you right now, it is unprecedented what the Chiefs are pulling off. Forget about that. Michael Phelps would be impressed with what the Chiefs are doing right now. They're getting everybody's best shot. Teams are putting everything they can into their game plan to beat the Chiefs. We used to see this against the Patriots. And we'll get to a bit more of that later, but the point is, the Chiefs are 8-0. Everybody else has lost games, but the Chiefs are getting everybody's best shot. That makes 8-0 for the Chiefs that much more impressive, and frankly, I don't think people are talking about it enough. They're too busy talking about the referees. More on that later, too. We got a lot. But I cannot overstate the impact of DeAndre Hopkins coming to Kansas City, and everybody's noticing it. USA Today called it the biggest heist of the NFL season. The Chiefs trading for DeAndre Hopkins. We have Ocean's 11, the Brett Veach version in Kansas City, and by God, JR, it is awesome. I want more of this every single week. I want more DeAndre Hopkins. He changes everything for this team. And I don't think Patrick Mahomes has ever had a wide receiver like this. Tyreek Hill couldn't do that in the red zone. That's the thing. DeAndre Hopkins is a big-time red zone threat. And other than Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes has never had one, guys. Tyreek Hill is really good, but he's not a jump up and catch the ball in the end zone type of guy. He's a deep ball threat guy. That's what he does. DeAndre Hopkins is a wide receiver that Patrick Mahomes has never had before. And I cannot wait to see what else he can bring to the table. And I'll tell you this. What DeAndre Hopkins brings to the table goes so far beyond just being a talented wide receiver because he plays angry. He's got this edge to him, you know. Remember the Hard Knocks thing with the Texans when he was on the Texans against D'Angelo Hall? D'Angelo Hall mouthed off to him a little bit, and DeAndre Hopkins said, "I fear God, homie." Still like the hardest thing anyone's ever said in the history of Hard Knocks.
I win the rep. You do that to me? Man, don't touch me, boy. What's wrong with you, boy? I'm a grown ass man, dog. Just like you. We can box. I feel God, homie. God. I feel God. I feel God, boy. I feel God, boy. I'm just like you. Now these boys feel God now. I'm gonna start out of you too. Watch.
I fear God, homie. That's the kind of edge that DeAndre Hopkins brings to the Chiefs. And it's such a welcomed edge on offense. On defense, like, you know, you had the Frank Clark type guys that go in there, they work hard and all that stuff. The offense, you have Travis Kelce. He's been the heart and soul of that offense for over a decade. But you add DeAndre Hopkins and that edge to it, I think you're getting even more fired up on that offense. That's another heart guy that the Chiefs need on offense. Huge intangibles that don't get talked about enough when it comes to DeAndre Hopkins coming to Kansas City. He has amazing intangibles, and that's something that's going to elevate this team to a level that I don't think people even could possibly comprehend. DeAndre Hopkins, welcome home, brother. We're very happy to have you. We're very lucky to have you, and I can't wait to see what DeAndre Hopkins does with the rest of this season. I am so fired up. He is the new toast of Kansas City, and we even see Titans fans. Titans fans are becoming Chiefs fans. Are you seeing this? Because he did the Remember the Titans dance, and he said, hey, it's all respect. I love Tennessee. And Titans fans are looking at their team like, we're terrible. We're not going anywhere. The Chiefs are good, and we love DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he did his best with a terrible situation. He wanted out so he could win. Who can't respect that, right? Tony Gonzalez, when he went to Atlanta, because the Chiefs were in a similar situation. Like, if you remember, when Tony Gonzalez left the Chiefs to go to Atlanta, I was kind of devastated by that. Tony Gonzalez was like one of the first guys when I was a kid that I really remembered who was just a great player. But the Chiefs weren't any good at that time. They were in a rebuilding phase. Nobody really knew where the direction of the team was going. And frankly, Tony was getting older. He wanted to play for a contender. So he went to Atlanta, and I became an Atlanta Falcons fan for the time that Tony Gonzalez was there. I wanted him to win a ring. Got close a couple of times. DeAndre Hopkins, I think Tennessee fans, maybe not to the same level because he didn't have as many years as Tony Gonzalez had in Kansas City, but I'm just kind of making that connection. If a player leaves who you really like and your team's just god-awful and you know it, maybe just go root for him. Root for him to go get a ring. So, Titans fans, welcome to the show. Titans fans, we're happy to have you. Thank you for coming along the bandwagon. We're happy to have everybody on the bandwagon because, frankly, at this point, it's Kansas City versus everybody. Everybody's got a take. They have this take about the referees, about the special treatment. We're crying all the time because we aren't winning enough and the Chiefs can't lose. So we'll take all the bandwagon fans we can get. You want to come on the bandwagon? Come on the bandwagon. We'll have you as long as you don't fall for that stupid refs narrative and act like an idiot every time you talk. Then we love to have you. Absolutely. More on the refs narrative later. It drives me nuts. Now, as the new toast of Kansas City, DeAndre Hopkins posted on Twitter, ... with a photo of Brady and Moss. That's what this connection reminds me of. If you go look at some clips on my Instagram, you will see I called it. I said this is kind of like a Brady Moss thing when Moss went to New England, or even when Steve Smith went to Baltimore and balled out for a year, or Andre Rison came to Kansas City in the 90s. Antonio Brown went to Tampa Bay for a year. He was a different kind of guy. Just a certain type of player that when you bring him in, it changes everything. That's what DeAndre Hopkins has been. And I'm telling you, it's that kind of energy. Like that kind of, this is who we're going to be. Him calling a shot, posting a picture of Tom Brady and Randy Moss, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen when it comes to social media posts for a player, because I love that confidence. This is the confidence of a guy who realizes his entire life has changed. I mean, he went from 1-6 to 7-0 or 6-0 or whatever. Now he's undefeated at 8-0. That's you cannot have a better situation than what DeAndre Hopkins has. And I will say this. This is an interesting thing. Follow me on this. We're going to move on to Patrick Mahomes here in a minute, but follow me on this because I was reading on Instagram today. I was looking at the Chiefs post, and they had a post about the Broncos. And they were like, hey, here's some pictures. We have a long rivalry with the Broncos. They showed a lot of pictures of the Chiefs playing against the Broncos. And in one of those pictures the Chiefs posted, it was Dwayne Bowe against the Broncos. And it got me thinking, because of DeAndre Hopkins' new success in Kansas City with a really great quarterback, the greatest of all time, Patrick Mahomes, it made me think, what would Dwayne Bowe's career have been like if he played with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback? Bowe had a season where he caught 17 touchdowns from Matt Castle. That man, at a time, was an absolutely dominant wide receiver. He just never had a quarterback. I wonder, what would Dwayne Bowe's career had been like if he had Patrick Mahomes? I'm thinking Hall of Fame. A Hall of Fame level career for Dwayne Bowe if he had Patrick Mahomes. I truly believe that. I think he had so much talent, but it's tough. It's tough when you're on a bad team, especially as a wide receiver. You know, when you're on a bad team and you're a quarterback or even a defensive player, it's pretty, you can find ways to create motivation. But when you're a wide receiver and your entire job is predicated on the quarterback putting the ball where it's supposed to be, and you have a quarterback that can't hit the broadside of a barn, sorry, Will Levis, but we got to do it to you, man. He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. It's a very, very defeating feeling for a player. That's why wide receiver, I think, is one of the tougher psychological positions to play in the NFL. And I think we have a lot of evidence to that, right? I mean, look at all the wide receivers. People say, oh, he's a diva. You're out on an island. The quarterback has to put the ball in the right spot. You got to go get it. You have to run after the catch. You're going one-on-one with this cornerback, and it's not just about you. So if you're open and the quarterback's not throwing you the ball, you're going to get pissed about it. So that's why I think it's a very mentally taxing position. And we've seen a lot of wide receivers be a little bit mentally out there. I think that comes with the territory. Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, we can keep going, Steve Smith. These are great players, great guys out there. They had mentally, it's a tough position to play, especially if you're on a bad team. So to get to go through what DeAndre Hopkins went through and now come to this team, oh, man, his motivation has to be absolutely through the roof. And I can't wait to see what he does next, man. I am so fired up for DeAndre Hopkins and what he brings to the table because I really believe this is something that will change the fabric of the franchise. Now, one NFL great is all in on the Chiefs, and he sees this team the same way that I do. I could not be more excited to share this with you. We're going to do it in a few minutes. But first, Patrick Mahomes said something this week that has the entire NFL buzzing when he was with Jeff Darlington on ESPN.
You're undefeated right now, but do you feel like this team is where it needs to be a championship team?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't think anyone should be ready yet. I mean, I think you have to continue to build throughout the season. I think that's what you see in the NFL. It's usually the team that's playing the best at the end of the year is the one that makes the run and goes out and wins it. You have to have that momentum, and you have to continue to get better. And it's about building all year long. It's not about the week-to-week thing. You focus on every single day. You just try to get better, and then at the end of the year, you're going to be playing your best football.
Patrick Mahomes is absolutely right. This team is not championship ready. The Chiefs are a really, really good team, the best team in the NFL, but they're not championship ready yet. We're halfway through the season. Nobody's championship ready yet. Don't listen to people who tell you the Lions are unstoppable or the Ravens have suddenly found their footing and they won't screw it up in the playoffs. Nobody at this point is championship ready. That's an absolute fact. And I think you should live your life like Patrick Mahomes. I really do. Patrick Mahomes, he doesn't try to prove anything to anybody. He's not LeBron Jamesing out there be like, well, I'm the greatest player in the world, so I think we always have a chance. No, he's saying, look, we just got to get better every day. That's our focus. Get better every day. And at the end, if we keep getting better every single day, then we should be in position to win a Super Bowl. We believe that if we focus on improvement every single week, then we should get to the Super Bowl. That's the belief that you should have. And frankly, that's the way that everyone should live their lives. You should live your life like Patrick Mahomes. Focus on getting better tomorrow. That's it. I think so often these lofty goals, we get so focused on these goals that we don't think about the day-to-day as much, right? We get focused on, well, why isn't this happening? Why isn't that happening? I need this to break this way or that to break this way. You always are looking at this big picture thing, whereas Patrick's just saying, I don't need to worry about the big picture. Part of that is because he has Andy Reid to do so, to be fair. But I just need to focus on getting better each day. That's a phenomenal philosophy, and I know the NFL is buzzing about it because they're saying, oh, Patrick Mahomes says the Chiefs, they aren't a Super Bowl-ready team. Well, yeah, they're not, because the Super Bowl is not for a long time from now. It's November. The Super Bowl is not until February. But we have to talk about it, right? That's just the way it is. That's NFL media, that's sports, that's fandom. We're constantly going, is this team good enough to win a Super Bowl? The answer is yes, they are. It's a long road. But yes, they're good enough to win a Super Bowl. Are you kidding me? They're back-to-back champions. They're the only undefeated team left in the NFL. Of course the Chiefs are good enough to win a Super Bowl. But are they a Super Bowl-ready team now? Well, the answer to that is just, frankly, no. But that's okay. They have a lot of time to get better. And from the pieces they've gotten, from what I've seen from this team, I am very excited to see how they develop, how they get better, how we see them become bigger, better, badder Kansas City Chiefs. That's what I want to see, and I can't wait for it. Now, another thing that I find interesting about this is I hear from Chiefs fans sometimes that are like, yeah, this team's just not as good as previous years. They look back at 2018, 2019, and they're like, I don't know, this Chiefs team doesn't seem as good. They don't seem as sharp, as skilled. This is why I stress to everybody to watch other teams. Because the last 5 or 6 years, we have seen a decline in the NFL in the quality of play. It's a significant decline, and I think it's directly affecting the Kansas City Chiefs. This decline in football is so frustrating because you see so many great players, potentially great players, who just aren't going to make it. All these young quarterbacks are being benched because they're not prepared from the college level to come to the NFL. And why is that? Well, I think it's a very good argument could be made that it's the transfer portal. You know, guys aren't going into a system and developing over 4 or 5 years anymore. They're just bouncing from team to team, and then those teams are dumbing down the offense so they can play right away, and the whole game gets based on skill. It's like the NBA. That's not a good direction for the NFL. But it's another reason why when you criticize the Chiefs and you compare them to previous Chiefs teams, don't do it. Look at the other teams in the NFL. They're all flawed. They all lack skill. The skill level of NFL players has plummeted over the last 5 or 6 years. I think as much as the transfer portal has been good for players, and I understand you don't want to feel trapped at a program. I get that. I think it's been good for them. But the absolute fact of the matter is that if you don't develop throughout a system over a course of years and don't take coaching over a course of years and you just keep bouncing from team to team until you go to the NFL, you're not going to be skilled enough. You're going to get frustrated. You're not going to have the ability to grow within a system that you need to have to win at this level. And that's why all these quarterbacks are getting benched. That's why all these young players have such a large learning curve now. And the terrible thing about it is that the NFL has a shorter preseason. So with a shorter preseason, you now have players that are not as skilled, and you're like, well, what's wrong with these guys? Well, it's an NFL problem, guys. It's not a Chiefs problem. Yeah, the Chiefs have had more skilled teams in the past, but that's because players were more skilled in the past. Transfer portal knocked out a lot of development. It just did. And I think that's why we're seeing so much sloppy football throughout the NFL and why the Chiefs, despite being a somewhat flawed team here and there, are undefeated. I think that's a big part of this, guys. Oh, man. All right. Now, the Chiefs, they're built for a Super Bowl, but I'll tell you, Patrick Mahomes, he's the reason why. Patrick Mahomes is why the Chiefs are built for a Super Bowl. You can point to all the other things, and they're very legitimate. Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, the entire organization, that defense is fantastic. But when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of the actual football game, the winning time points of the game, Patrick Mahomes is the difference for the Kansas City Chiefs. And it's beautiful to watch. I love it. I love watching Patrick Mahomes become Superman when the game is on the line. I love Patrick Mahomes putting on the cape on third down and getting it done. That is why the Chiefs are a Super Bowl ready team. And I don't get that twisted, that Patrick Mahomes is somehow overrated and the Chiefs could do it with another quarterback. It's not true. It's flat out untrue. And people pretending it is, they're usually just haters or they just don't know any better. I have a lot of empathy for you. I wish that you knew more and you understood more about the game, but the fact is, if you're criticizing Patrick Mahomes or saying he's overrated, you don't. All right. Now, today, shots were fired from the enemy in Denver. Shots fired. And we'll get to that here in just a few moments. But first, one NFL great is all in on the Chiefs, and he agrees with me about this squad and about especially the Chiefs offense. Tom Brady was on The Herd with Colin Cowherd, and they asked about the Chiefs offense.
I actually think they do have a great offensive identity. I think look, the game's about winning. We talk about points, you talk about, yards, and you talk about penalties and defensive stops. To me, at the end of the game, do you have more points than the other team? That's the maturity of a great team and a great organization. I played on a lot of teams. Some were a lot of offensive strengths. Some had a lot of defensive strengths. Some years we were kind of middle of the pack at both, but we played well situationally. Third down, red area, 2 minute. Every year, that's the best part about the NFL is the constant transition, the constant change. You see they add DeAndre Hopkins at the trade deadline. So it's like, in the end, when you have Patrick Mahomes and it's a one-score game, everyone's always betting on the Chiefs. I actually think they do have a great offensive identity. I think look, the game's about winning. We talk about points, you talk about, yards, and you talk about penalties and defensive stops. To me, at the end of the game, do you have more points than the other team? That's the maturity of a great team and a great organization.
There isn't a problem with the Chiefs offense. You heard it from Tom Brady. Tom Brady, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Not as great as Patrick Mahomes, but an all-time great quarterback. He knows there's nothing wrong with the Chiefs offense because the Patriots had to deal with this for years. A target on your back the size of Texas, just sitting there as everybody gives you their best shot. There's not a time, not a moment where every team isn't getting everything together. They're planning weeks in advance because beating the Chiefs at this point for every team in the NFL means job security. So these guys are putting everything they have in their arsenal. They are emptying the barrel at the Kansas City Chiefs, and they still can't win. It's still an 8-0 Chiefs team. That's what's so shocking. I mean, people can criticize the Chiefs all they want to, but the matter of fact is the Chiefs are 8-0 with a massive target on their back, and nobody else is undefeated. Nobody else has been undefeated for weeks. So I don't want to hear about point margins. They don't matter. They don't matter. When you're a team that everybody's giving their best shot to, it's always going to be close. By the way, there are a few plays that if they had gone the other way, the Chiefs would have blown out Tampa Bay. And I know people always like to point to their ridiculous films, be like, well, if a few plays would have gone differently, the Chiefs would have lost. Yeah, I could point to two plays that if they would have gone otherwise, the Chiefs blow out the Bucs. Early on in the game, the Buccaneers on a third down got a defensive holding penalty that didn't exist. You remember they showed it on TV. I can't remember I think they said it was on Connor, but it wasn't. And then they went over to McDuffie and they said it was on him, but it wasn't. And then they showed all these clips. And in none of these clips were there any examples of defensive holding. So we have no examples of defensive holding in any of these clips. And then the drive stays alive. Bucs score a touchdown. You take that away, we don't go to overtime. Also, the Samaje Perine drop. Samaje Perine catches that ball and gets a first down, game's over. So this game going to overtime was really just lucky for the Buccaneers. They had no reason to be in that overtime game, but that's the beauty of the Kansas City Chiefs. Even when something goes against them, even when calls go against them, even when they have drops or issues, they find a way to win. That's the beauty of this team. They keep finding ways to win because they dig deep. They dig in there, and they really get after it. Man, I love watching this team dig in the 11th hour to pull one out when you just can't imagine it happening any other way.
I actually think they do have a great offensive identity.
I love it. So that's an interesting thing with the Patriots. It's a huge deal. Now, Tom Brady knows what KC is going through. He knows. Tom Brady's already done this. I think that's what makes the Tom Brady analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs so incredibly important, more important than any other player, because he's lived what the Kansas City Chiefs are currently going through, having a massive target on your back every single week. I was right there with the rest of the Chiefs fans when the Patriots were crushing everybody, saying the Patriots are cheaters and getting very charged up whenever the Chiefs played the Patriots. Right? And when the Chiefs beat the Patriots, I remember a random Monday Night Football game from like 2014 where the Chiefs beat the Patriots, and it was like the greatest thing ever. And people said the Patriots are done. And then the Patriots went on to win the Super Bowl. That's how it is to be this kind of team. Everyone's waiting to call you done. They're waiting to say you're washed. They're waiting to say that your run is over. Tom Brady understands this. So he is, I think, the best person to ask when it comes to analysis about the Kansas City Chiefs. And I love that Colin Cowherd had him on and that we got to hear what Tom Brady thought about this team and what he thought about this offense, because I think he puts a very good perspective on this. Tom Brady played in a lot of great offenses. They didn't win Super Bowls most of the time. It was when he was playing smart offense, game manager type offense, and pulling it out at the end. Randy Moss never won a Super Bowl. They put up crazy numbers with Randy Moss, but he never won a Super Bowl there. So it does kind of tell you how Tom Brady sees this thing. It's like, yeah, putting up numbers is great. Great offense, but score a bunch of points. But when it comes to championship level football, it's about having a great defense, managing the game well, and putting yourself in position to win. That's what Tom Brady did. That's what Patrick Mahomes is doing. And when you have those games, those 3 touchdown games like Patrick Mahomes just had, that's great. Every game isn't going to be like that. The important thing is that you put your team in position to win. And Mahomes does that every single week. It's a big reason why people hate him, because they just hate winners. That's the world we live in. People hate winners. They love underdogs. They loved the Chiefs 5 years ago. Oh, baby. 5 years ago, the Chiefs were the toast of the town. And now they're the evil empire. Now the Lions are the Chiefs. The Lions are the 2019 Chiefs. That's what we're watching, except they'll lose in the Super Bowl to Kansas City. So not exactly like the 2019 Chiefs. All right, now today, shots were fired by the Denver Post. Get that to you in just a second. But first, there's one player to watch very, very closely in this Chiefs-Broncos game. One guy we got to focus on big time. We'll tell you who that is in just a few minutes. But first, the Denver Post, Troy Renck wrote a piece that said Chiefs fatigue has taken hold and gotten old. He said, we're tired of seeing Mahomes, Kelsey, and Reed on commercials and on all the shows, and I didn't read the rest of it. That's all I needed to read to know how sucky it was. No, actually, it was because there was a paywall, and I'm not going to pay the Denver Post. Good God. Really? You're going to pay to read about the Denver Broncos? No, sir. Not in this. When I was a kid, we were in a trip to Colorado, and my dad would not drive through Denver. We drove around Denver, and his quote was, "Why would I go to Denver except to piss on John Elway's lawn?" We hated the Broncos. Hated them so much because they were amazing. I mean, that's why. It wasn't because they did anything wrong or like, oh, how dare them. No, we just hated them because they were amazing. So that's kind of what's happening now in Broncos country. They hate the Chiefs because the Chiefs haven't lost the division for like how many years? Since Peyton's last year, right? 2015. So 2015 is the last time any team other than the Chiefs won the AFC West. So of course they hate us. God, I would hate us every day. I would be so mad at the Kansas City Chiefs all the time. But I have thought about this. I have. I get it. Like, imagine being a Broncos fan and you're not even watching the Chiefs, right? You're watching your team. You're a Broncos fan. You're watching play the Raiders. Who cares? And your team scores a touchdown. Bo Nix does something, catches a touchdown or does whatever Bo Nix does, and he gets a touchdown. And you're sitting there feeling good about yourself. You're like, yes, we have a bright future. This is great. And then it cuts to commercial, and there's Patrick Mahomes asking if you want the Patrick price for State Farm. Just take all that joy you were just feeling, it just got tapered. Or here's Travis Kelce saying, hey, two things at the same time. All your excitement just got tapered. Or here's Andy Reid on the plane with Patrick. Or here's Patrick Mahomes dancing with Bose headphones on. Like, your team just scored a touchdown. You're feeling good about your life. Now here's Patrick Mahomes with his Bose headphones on. Of course they hate us. Good. Too bad. Get used to it. The Chiefs are going to dominate for the next 10 years, and there's nothing you can do about it. We're going to be on every single commercial. I'm going to have it on a loop. I want Patrick Mahomes' Oakley commercials on a loop in the NFL. Every single commercial break. I want Mahomes dancing with Kelce, and then here comes Taylor Swift with her Bose headphones on. That's the new world. Get used to it. Thank you to Troy Renk for writing that, because I had so much fun even just knowing, like, yeah, I've thought about that for years, how annoying it must be for other fans to watch commercials with the Kansas City Chiefs so prominently represented throughout all of NFL commercials, because that would just, I just think about it. Imagine if, like, let's just go back to the days where the Broncos ran the AFC West. If it was like every other commercial was like, here's John Elway, here's Terrell Davis, here's Bill Romanowski, I would puke. I would puke all over the ground in front of my couch. I would just, every single time I saw one of those SOBs show up on my television, it would drive me crazy, bro. So yeah, I'm just saying. I get where you're coming from, Troy. I get where you're coming from, the Denver Post. I just don't care, because I'm on the right side of it. So I'm happy. You know how happy I get when I see Patrick, that little ding, 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 because I know here comes a State Farm commercial, and I get to see Patrick Mahomes. It's fantastic. Oh, man. All right, now there's one thing the NFL will not shut up about. They just won't stop. NFL fans won't stop talking about this. We'll tell you what it is in just a few minutes. But first, one player to watch for the Kansas City Chiefs against the Broncos that I think will be incredibly important, Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is a Denver Bronco destroyer. They hate Travis Kelce in Denver. I don't know if there's a fan base that hates Travis Kelce more than the Denver Broncos. In fact, if you know people in sports radio there, which I do, I was in that business for a long time. I did it for 8 years. So I know a lot of people there, and I know that even when the Broncos draft a linebacker, in like a third-round linebacker, and they're like, hey, this guy's really good, their text line blows up, and the number one question people ask is, can he guard Travis Kelce? Or when they draft a safety, can he guard Travis Kelce? They're obsessed with stopping Travis Kelce. And if you look at Travis's games against the Broncos, they absolutely should be. He has been a Bronco crusher. He's been a Raider crusher. He's been a Charger killer. Travis Kelce against AFC West opponents over the last 10, 11 years has been absolutely unstoppable. He's been incredible. I love watching what Travis Kelce does to those teams, man. He is inside the cerebral cortex of every single fan of every single AFC West team, and there's nothing they can do about it. And you could say he's fallen off a little bit, but you're wrong. Since week 4, Travis Kelce has averaged over 8 catches per game. Over the last 2 games, with DeAndre Hopkins taking some of the pressure off of him, Travis Kelce has 8, like Mikey eating Life cereal. Travis Kelce is just swallowing everybody up. 14 catches, 100 yards on Monday Night Football against the Buccaneers. Get some. Against the Raiders, getting in the end zone, crushing everybody. Get some. Travis Kelce this week against the Denver Broncos will once again be the focal point of the offense. The Chiefs are always at their best when Travis is the focal point of the offense. It'll be no different this week against the Broncos. I expect him to eat heavy. I expect him to be huge. If you are a gambling person, I don't know, the election just happened. I think you can gamble in more states now. Maybe not right now, but later, yeah. But if you're a gambling person, it doesn't matter. I always forget, like, after the election, like, no, it doesn't happen tomorrow. It happens. But if you are a gambling person, take the overs on Travis Kelce, baby. He is going to explode against the Denver Broncos. I guarantee it. Now, there is one thing the NFL fans will not shut up about, and it's driving me absolutely crazy, and that is the referees. The referee angle for the Chiefs is one of the dumbest angles I've ever seen in the history of my life. Every person, no matter what's happening, they're going, well, the referees are favoring the Chiefs. They're not. If you watch those games, I can break down times where the Chiefs have gotten screwed. If it weren't for the referees calling a phantom defensive holding penalty for the Buccaneers early on in the game, it would have been a blowout. There would have been no overtime. There wouldn't have been a chance for you to go, oh, well, I think he might have gotten a false start. No, they would have already lost because the referees would have done their job correctly. So all these fans that are talking about the referees, they're flat out wrong. They're peanut butter and jealous. They're upset because their team isn't as good as the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a defense mechanism for losers. To look at the referees and say, that's why we lost. We lost because the referees are out to get us. You sound like children. You sound like sixth graders out at the playground going, no, you didn't tag me. You just got close. You only tagged my shirt. That's how you sound. You sound like children who don't know when to shut the hell up and accept the fact that no matter what you do, no matter how many times you complain about it, it doesn't matter. The Kansas City Chiefs are better than your team. That's why they're 8-0, and it has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the referees. I can find missed calls in every single game in the NFL every single week. What we have are these people in their basements just typing up on their keyboards going, I gotta find the penalty that wasn't called. And then I gotta get this grainy film and put it on the internet so people can see that the Kansas City Chiefs are really being elevated. They aren't good. Could you imagine being that dense? Could you imagine thinking that the NFL is actually rigged? Like, only the dumbest people in the world must think the NFL is rigged to think that certain players wouldn't have outed it yet, right? This isn't pro wrestling. You know, it's not a fraternity. You think Antonio Brown wouldn't have told us by now? Seriously. If the NFL was rigged, Antonio Brown would have blown that wide open. Don't even ask a second question. Antonio Brown would have told all of us about the NFL being rigged. So there's not a chance that it's rigged. It's not rigged. The referees aren't giving the Chiefs preferential treatment. They're giving them the same crappy treatment that every other team gets. Every other team gets calls they don't deserve. The Chiefs are right there in that ilk, man. They're right there in that same conversation. And I see it every single week with all these games. We see bad call after bad call after bad call. I think you could have a great indictment of the referees in the NFL. Absolutely. But here's the thing. I think so often people are saying refereeing in the NFL is worse than it used to be. No, it's the same. We just have more angles now. That's really all it is. We have more angles to see their bad calls. Back in the day when we were watching grainy box TVs, 12 inches in your grandpa's house, pulled back, you got turned knobs to try and get the game, adjust the antenna. Yeah, when we were watching football during those days, you didn't really have to worry about the referees getting it right or wrong because you couldn't tell anyway. Now we have 37 different angles. These referees are doing the best they can, man. They don't have a lot of angles of what's happening. You don't see it happen right in front of them, except for certain egregious penalties that are missed. But that happens. It happens every game. And people say, oh, well, the Chiefs get it in the biggest moments. Do they? Do they really? Because there have been times where the Chiefs have had huge plays, like, for instance, the Cincinnati Bengals. Before the pass interference penalty against the Cincinnati Bengals, there was a massive connection between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Huge play. And a phantom holding penalty, or was it? No, it was a phantom hands to the face penalty. Wanya Morris got called for a hands to the face penalty that didn't really exist against Henderson. He barely touched him. Ticky-tack call. They toss a flag, call back what would have been a game-winning catch for Travis Kelce. And then they play on, and the very next play, it's pass interference on the Bengals, which was a clear pass interference. But we use that to say the NFL is rigging games, that the refs, if they were rigging games, they wouldn't have thrown the fucking penalty on the first one. And then the Travis Kelce would have gotten a big play, and everybody would have been very like, oh, well, Travis is doing okay. But instead, that got wiped out, and a penalty got it there. Which, I'll just say this. Don't throw the first penalty. Then we don't have to worry about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't screw up once. Then we don't have to worry about the next one. So, yes, the officiating in the NFL is bad. That is an undeniable fact. It's always been bad. I can't wait until robots take it over. I'm very serious about that. Umpires first because, my God, they're terrible. But next, NFL referees. We need better NFL referees. We need robot NFL referees because the fact is, if you have 37 angles to something, you're not going to miss it. If you're a human being, you have one angle of it, it's happening at 100 miles per hour right in front of you. It's a lot easier. It's a lot harder to see. So Yeah, NFL officiating is bad, but it is not favoring the Chiefs. Don't let people lie to you and tell you that it's favoring the Chiefs. It's not. Now, we have our game prediction for the Chiefs coming up, but first, just a quick non-Chiefs thing that I found hilarious. Saquon Barkley got drug tested this week. After his backwards hurdle seen around the world, because it was, in fact, one of the greatest plays I've ever seen in my entire life. I've never seen anything like it. No one's ever seen anything like it. It's an unprecedented move in the NFL executed by one of the greats of all time in the NFL, Saquon Barkley. So obviously the NFL says, okay, drug test time. And honestly, I gotta be very honest with you, as I always am. Good. When someone does something superhuman, maybe test them. I mean, that's the thing. Are you really testing for performance-enhancing drugs if someone does something superhuman and you don't test them? That's kind of the thing, and it happens all the time in the NFL. But all that tells me is that the NFL is committed to their PED policy to make sure that nobody's taking anything that's going to give them superhuman powers. And if they do something superhuman, it's just because they're that damn good. And Saquon Barkley, I loved watching it at Penn State, man. I knew Saquon. I was covering the Big Ten as a broadcaster when Saquon Barkley was at Penn State. And everybody knew how special that guy was. My God. From the day he showed up on campus, he looked different. So he is just a superhuman person. He reminds me of Bo Jackson a lot, especially as like just his running style, that speed power combination. I don't think we've seen a player like Saquon Barkley since Bo Jackson. And that's incredibly impressive to me. Now, and also just a quick side, I want the NFL to test every team but the Chiefs. I want every team but the Chiefs to be thoroughly tested. I think that's thoroughly tested and vetted. Exactly, 100%. Now, game prediction. The Chiefs taking on the Denver Broncos in Arrowhead. Chiefs by 100, baby. Let's get it. All right, thank you so much. This has been the Midweek Blitz. My name is Mike Bassano, and thank you so much for spending a little bit of your week with me. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you all the time, and I really appreciate your interactions, your following, your messages to me, telling me you appreciate the content. It means the world to me. So thank you. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy the game.